Morning. Morning. How everybody doing? All right. My name is Sergeant First Class Evans, retired. I'm with eXp Realty here in San Antonio, Texas. And I got my start a few years back. I'm a two-term soldier. After I got out of the military in the Gulf War, I found out I didn't know nothing about anything or any type of benefits that I got because they weren't real good on letting you know what you were able to get with your benefits and everything. They were just starting the transition assistance program. It was really young, so there's a lot of information that was missed out. So when I came back in the second time when Iraq kicked off, I decided I was going to start my own business, which happened to be real estate. And I was determined to get as much information as I could to try to pass on to my fellow soldiers. So I want to make sure that you all are available with all the benefits that you have available to you. I'm a licensed, certified military relocation professional. I got that started in California, but I do this all over. You already got that right there. Mr. Michael Kidd is a mortgage loan specialist, and he does a variety of home loans. He also has a passion for helping our veterans and helping them get the VA loan benefits that they deserve and they're entitled to. And our goal here today is to educate you on the VA loan benefits so you can become a proud homeowner today. Today's topics we're going to go over the VA home benefits, the eligibility, the buying process, and then we'll have questions and answers. We'll open the floor up to you guys, and you can just go ahead and ask us what you want. And with that, I'm going to bring up Mr. Michael Kidd.
Thank you guys for allowing us to come in today. It's an honor to be here, and thank all of you and your families for your service. Definitely appreciate it. I am not from the military, but like most people in this country, we are tied to the military some way. My grandparents are actually buried here, so it's always a humbling honor to come out here and see what you guys do for our country. So thank you guys for that. I'm not a public speaker. I'm not a motivational speaker. I usually sit behind a desk and crunch numbers for people. So a little different for me being here. So I hope I don't bore you guys to death. I'm a part of a men's group, and one of the guys there, he always starts out everything with a joke, and so I'm going to start out with a joke, kind of to get me a little bit more comfortable. I'm glad I picked a clean joke, by the way, after seeing all the families here. Basically, there's a soldier, and he's in the bar, and he turns to the guy next to him, and he says, hey, you want to hear a Marine joke? And the guy says, well, first of all, let me stop you right there. He goes, I'm 6'5", 240, and I'm a Marine. He said, you see this guy next to me right here? He's 6'4", he's 250, he's a Marine too. He said, you see the guy next to him? He's 6'3", 225, and he's also a Marine. He goes, so you still think you want to tell that joke? So he turns, he looks him up and down, and he said, nah, never mind. I don't want to have to explain it 3 times. So that was about the cleanest joke I could find. So bottom line is, we're here today to give you some information about this. I am a very kind of face-to-face person, like I said. So some of the information we'll give you here today is just some general information about the VA process, what it takes to qualify, what's it about, and a little bit about home ownership. But definitely want to encourage all of you guys, if you're interested, we are located here in San Antonio off of 1604 in Bitters. Would love to have you guys come in, your families come in, sit with us. Happy to meet you guys as well. Like everything else in financing in life, it's all unique to you and what your goals are, what your financial situation is. So definitely love to sit down with you guys and go through and help you out in any way I can. Just kind of a show of hands, people here that currently own a home or have owned a home using your VA benefits? Awesome, very good. So I will tell you this, anytime somebody comes into our office and they have the availability to use their certificate of eligibility for a VA loan, we always go that route. It's the absolute best loan out there. And of course, that's awesome for you guys who deserve that. So just kind of go through some of the topics here. Try to look forward for you guys. So for me, home ownership, I've been doing this business for about 16 years here in San Antonio. I've been married actually 16 years coming up in January. I have a 14-year-old daughter and a 7-year-old son. So what I love about what I do is I get to work with people on a daily basis and families. I believe in what I do, so I get to help people buy something that I really believe in. I bought my first home when we first got married. Just to kind of give you a ballpark, here in San Antonio, we paid $150,000 for it, sold it 5 years later for a little under $200,000 and walked away with about $40,000 in our pocket. So I look at home ownership as you've got to have a place to live. It's going to cost some money to live somewhere. You might as well get a benefit out of it instead of spending your money on renting, basically. So a couple things, some things that I feel are important. Building equity, just like I talked about. That's basically the difference between what you owe on your home and what it's worth. So, purchasing a home, basically over time, that home appreciates, and also as you make payments, the mortgage balance goes down. So basically no longer wasting money on renting, basically, is what that comes down to. So again, the payments go towards the principal of the loan. So over time, that loan balance continues to go down. At the same time, especially here in San Antonio, we're a growing city. They're projecting in the next 10 years for another 1 million people to be here in San Antonio. So what that means is the demand for homes is going to continue to go up, which means the values typically continue to go up. Texas in general, we went through the mortgage crisis a number of years ago. We were very insulated here because we're not an overpriced city. A lot of hardworking people here. It wasn't based on a lot of IT and things like that kind of fell through the cracks. But San Antonio is a great place to live. We've been blessed to be here and be in this business. Tax savings. One of the big benefits is there's actual tax deductions that you get for owning a home. So any interest that you pay on your loan actually is a tax deduction. Also, the property taxes that you pay on your home is a tax deduction as well. So it's a direct reduction in the amount of money that you pay at the end of the year. Fixed monthly payments. So this is something, going in the door, I always laugh. My dad, we lived in the same house for like 35 years, and I always laughed at the last couple payments he made. They were probably less than his truck payment. He bought his house in the 1970s and paid $30,000 for it. So you can imagine what that payment looked like at the end. So that's the other thing. Owning a home over time, unlike rent continues to go up. Your principal and interest payment on your home will stay the same for the term of the loan. So we usually do a 30-year fixed loan. So you're guaranteed to have that same payment over that term from that perspective. Customizing your home, of course, everybody wants to live as comfortably as possible. Changing the carpet out, changing the paint, things like that. Obviously, nobody wants to waste their money on somebody else's rental property. So again, you have the ability to do that. Change your yard, plant trees, all that kind of stuff. So basically make it a real home for you guys. One of the big things that, especially for you guys, anybody that's moving through the military, I know there's always kind of a hesitation to buy a home, not really knowing where you're going to be or if there's going to be a transition. One of the great things about this city in particular is the home prices are fairly low compared to a lot of places in the country. So one of the big things is you could convert that property eventually into a rental property. So just because you move doesn't mean you have to immediately sell it. Even if you rented somewhere else, you can convert it into a rental here, maybe have some monthly income off of it. Again, at the same time, you're still building that equity in that same property. So that's always a good opportunity as well. The VA loan benefit, again, like I said, it is the best deal out there. 100% financing. Most mortgages that we work with, you have to at least put 3.5%, maybe even 5% down. The VA actually insures mortgages for lenders like myself. So basically it is 100% no down payment out of pocket. So that's, again, it's buying a home without having to come out of pocket with that is a very unique benefit specifically for veterans. No monthly mortgage insurance. Any other type of loan that's out there that you don't put down 20%, there's an extra insurance policy that you have to pay on a monthly basis. The VA basically, when they back loans, they guarantee the loan for us as a lender. So that means that there is no extra monthly mortgage insurance. So again, not only about the VA benefit, but why would I use my VA eligibility to buy a home versus doing an FHA or conventional? Again, that's a huge benefit right there. It's always best to typically use your VA eligibility. Limitations on closing costs. Basically, there's some restrictions on what a veteran is allowed to pay. So again, there's some overlaying rules that just make it a better benefit for you guys, where other people might have to pay some additional fees. That is limited for veterans, so the seller a lot of times has to pick up some of those fees on y'all's behalf. And again, a lot of this stuff is just kind of a general overview. Actually sitting down with you guys, I'd be happy to put all this stuff, in writing and show you guys. No cash reserve requirements, which means you don't have to have $10,000, $20,000 in the bank. I mean, you could literally come in, zero money down from a down payment. There are a couple other expenses during the transaction, but you're not required to have a certain amount of money saved up. You can qualify without having any savings, to be honest with you. No prepayment penalties. So this is something if you move, there is no restriction on you selling your home. So for example, you could come in, purchase a home, something changes in your life, you're moving in the next year or so, you could sell it without having to pay any penalty to do that. There's no restriction on how that works. Reduce costs. There is what's called a funding fee for VA. Now, depending on if you're a disabled veteran or what your status is, that fee changes a little bit. It is rolled into the loan, but for anybody that receives any disability compensation, that fee is waived for veterans. Flexible underwriting standards. So over the years, things change with how we look and how we qualify people. VA has always been known to be the most aggressive as far as getting people into homes. The VA wants to help you find a way to own a home. So our underwriting standards, the way that we look at you qualifying is the most lenient out there. So again, comparing VA versus other types of loans, it's always going to be the best typically for veterans. And we do purchase and refinance transactions. So if you purchase a home, 5 or 6 years down the road, interest rates are lowered. There's what's called an interest rate reduction loan, which basically is a streamlined refinance process for veterans. One of the things that the VA has always been known for is there's very specific standards to become what's called a VA appraiser. So the appraiser is the person that goes out to the property that makes sure it's worth what you're going to pay for it. There's certain appraisers that have that qualification. So again, the VA is once again, having your back, making sure that you're getting into a home, making sure that the home is in good shape for you guys, and making sure that the value is there as well to protect y'all. So VA loan eligibility, basically we look at the certificate of eligibility is what we refer to it as to see what you qualify and if you do qualify for a VA loan. These are just some very general kind of parameters here, but just to give you guys an idea, I think a number of you guys are reservists, but basically being in active duty, serving 90 days during wartime immediately qualifies you for this eligibility. Serving 181 days during peacetime, and then as a reservist or National Guard, basically it's after a 6-year period of doing that. So if you've never been on active duty, you've been just pure reservist, after 6 years you do qualify for that. Now what I will tell you is, I ran into this a couple years ago, a gentleman had served 6 years, but what he didn't tell us is about nine months of those 6 years he didn't show up for his duty, so he didn't accumulate enough points during that time. So it's a combination of not only serving that timeline, but actually doing enough to accumulate those points. If there's any question about that, when you guys come in or we talk, we can actually go online and pull this, and we can help you guys find out if you do qualify with those points as well. It must be for a purchase of a primary residence, so you can't buy this for an investment property purpose. You do have to plan on residing there as your primary residence. One of the things a lot of people are concerned about is buying it as your primary residence. Well, what if I move? Does something change? It absolutely does not. So it doesn't convert on paper. The loan doesn't change at all. It's how you acquire the property, not what you end up doing with it down the road. As far as who can be on the loan, the way it works is the veteran themselves is insured up to 100% of the purchase price. So if you have a co-signer, if it's your spouse, then they're also included in that. If you're also buying it with another veteran, so two veterans buying one house together, they'll use the eligibility from both of you guys. Where this comes into play, for example, is if you're not married, you're buying a home with your girlfriend, or you're buying a home with a friend who's not a veteran and doesn't have this eligibility, only the veteran side is 100% financing. The other person, the other 50%, that person would have to put down 25%. So again, being a veteran, there's that extra benefit. And not to get too detailed into all this, again, this is something we can definitely help make sure that we talk about when we meet with you guys. Subsequent use of entitlement. So this is one of the things that I hear people would say, well, I don't want to buy a house now. I want to wait until I'm in the place I want to be long term. I don't want to burn up my VA eligibility. There's what's called subsequent use, and then also reinstating your VA eligibility. So, for example, if you currently have a home with you're using your VA, you are allowed to borrow, even with still owning that home, and buy another home going VA. There are some rules about that, so you can have multiple VA loans at the same time. Also, if you ever sell your home, the VA eligibility is completely reinstated. So it's not like it's a one-time use. I mean, it's multiple use, and you can also have multiple at the same time. We do use gross income, so if you do receive income from the military, we use that. We use BAH, BAS as well. Working in the civilian workforce, we use your gross income. So just kind of an idea of that. A lot of people are concerned they don't make enough money. Again, the gross is what really matters to us. One of the things we run across every once in a while is somebody's getting some education benefits. We are not allowed to use those towards a home purchase. As far as what's called the loan limits, every year they kind of reassess them. So right now, if you would qualify for it going into 2019, you could technically borrow in Bexar County, or most of the country actually, up to $484,350 at 100% financing if you were to qualify for that. So it's definitely a lot of flexibility. You're not limited to a $150,000 house at 100%. The buying process, again, this is what I do